fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my god! Oh. Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
It's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Hello everyone and welcome to SimSpeed TV's coverage of the 2021 Virtual Racing School Sprint Series live at the Oran Park housing estate. Except there's no houses in sight this time around. We've turned back the clock to 2010 where this gorgeous 2.6 kilometers of Australian tarmac once held many historical moments in Australian motorsport. We have 40 minutes of brilliant racing coming up, and calling it tonight is myself, Mr. Bo Albert, and Mr. Simon Mazzomo alongside me, with finding their way into the director's chair once again is Mr. J.K. Kennedy. But first, before we dive into what this brilliant track tonight has in store for us, let's just turn back the clocks just a little bit and dive into what we witnessed last week at the concrete jungle of Detroit Belle Isle. It was another 40 minutes of racing, and it was hard fought and away. The McLarens looked fast, they were strong, and overall we had a brilliantly clean start, with everyone sorting themselves out very nicely. Dave Cam, of course, the very popular YouTuber, found his way into a very strong charge up at turn number 3, and then we saw a great battle going on further back, including Matt Gator and Vanio Kungus as well, and Sam Devontier going side by side through the tricky opening sections of the Belle Isle circuit, trying to find some positions, but not quite able to do it as the drivers continue to fight. This was him versus Peter, and Peter would cover the inside into turn number 3. See more battles going on in the background as well, as this was a brilliant little fight once again at turn number 3, which was the hot spot around this particular circuit. All the drivers really trying to make something happen. Then we saw things go really wrong, and that was contact and a chain reaction between multiple cars sent the Ferrari hard into the wall, and sadly that was all she wrote for a number of our competitors. And then we also see Peter under big pressure from Devontier again, with a brilliant crisscross maneuver from Devontier, managed to get himself up the inside, and in the end did make that position work. So a great little move there, and we will see that there was a position swap. This was further up the order, and this was Matt Gator trying to get past the likes of Vanio Kunga, and he had a big dive at turn number 3. He was so much quicker all race in the early stage of the lap, but wasn't able to make the move stick. He tried other places as well, including turn number 11. You can see having a big look, almost contact between the two. They held on though, and they would continue to fight on for another lap, but only a few more laps until eventually it all went wrong at turn number 1. They both went spinning, synchronized, and that forced the battling duo behind, including Dave Cameron, Devontier, and also Peter, to all slow up on the exit of turn number 2, which led to a big scrap into turn number 3. You can see 3 wide, Devontier on the outside, Cam in the middle, and Peter in third there as well, and it was all getting a little bit all too close. And in the end, it would be Dave Cameron on the outside of turn number 4, shoved into the wall, and Devontier would try and capitalize, go around the outside, but he would be hit from behind from the number 5 car and cause a big chain reaction once again, which also included one of our BMW M4s getting caught out and stuck in a little bit of a traffic jam. You can see more battling. This was Matt Gator making a recovery drive and finally getting past Vanio Kungus, but Dave Cameron was having all kinds of dramas. He clips the wall just a little bit at the Belle Isle Street Circuit, and would lose quite a few spots from that as well as he continued to fight on and make content for his YouTube channel. And you can see he was willing to put up a fight, but there was only so much fighting he could do before the white flag had to be thrown. This was an odd one we saw for one of our leading Ferraris, as one of them just decided to park on pit exit, and sadly that was all it needed for Matt Gator to have a big look around the outside. He'd been here once, he'd been here twice, but it was third time lucky around the outside, and very lucky not to get into the wall as well, as these guys continue fighting, and eventually Kotab would get spun around almost by Gator. The two would hold on, but allowed Dave Cameron to close up a bit towards the end. Gator again trying into towards turn number 3. These guys kept on fighting. Kotab on the inside had to try and hold nice and strong, try and defend that position, but wasn't quite able to do it in the end. And Matt Gator, with superior speed, would go on to take that position and get into 4th place, but he was never challenging Marco Kayla, who became our round 5 winner in an absolutely dominating display. He stayed out of trouble and made his way to the checkered flag first at the end of it all. So, moving on to round number 6, we will head to the gorgeous Oran Park circuit, and to take us through where this circuit is on the beautiful world of Australia, and also take us through a lap as well, Mr. Simon Mazomo.
Yes, welcome. We return back to Australia. We head to Urellan, just outside of Sydney in New South Wales. As you say, we return to Oran Park. Now, unfortunately, it is a housing estate, but we can still remember the amazing racetrack in the sim in iRacing. Opened in 1962, closing January 25th, 2010. 2.62 kilometer circuit, 11 corners, figure 8 design. You will see us, we will go over a bridge to link this circuit together, and we will bring up the VRS onboard lap so we can have a look at this fantastic racetrack. Coming up now, we're going to be doing it in the Ferrari GT3, a car that seems to be doing quite well this time around. As you can see, still dated back to when this track was originally stand. Still got all the old grandstands and everything. So we head down the front straight, getting the car ready for turn 1. Turn 1 and 2, very, very difficult. You carry a lot of speed. So we head down here. The car's going to want to get sideways as you grab the brake. Let the car run right out wide. Try and slow it up for the apex. Let the car run out. Careful not to grab too much outside curb. It will unsettle you. Hard on the limiter heading into turn 3 shell corner. Very important to get the apex, set yourself up. Then to turn 4 champion corner, let the car run out wide. It's a bit off cambered, so easy enough to get the car unsettled. And then here over the crest, hug the inside curb, because that's going to set you up for this run here. Now through this section here, 6, 7, 8, use all the curbs where possible. Got to maximize and keep the car momentum up. Again, use the outside curb. Over the dog leg, keep the thing flat. Try and use as much, straighten up that corner, and then here, you got to pull the car up hard, pull it to the apex, and then same thing, get on the gas, let it run wide as far as you can, and down the front straight, and that is a very short but a very fast lap around Oran Park.
Absolutely a brilliant job there from Paschalis Georges, of course, from VRS Coanda Simsport, as we find ourselves with 2 minutes and 40 seconds left in this qualifying session here at the beautiful Oran Park circuit. And at the moment, the drivers are setting their times, and it is Justin Rougier, a name we haven't seen all too much so far this season, and a driver that we are very much familiar with, though, as he is currently on provisional pole by a 1/10 of a second over Nolan Lemeray at the moment. And Marco Kayla, who has just finished all his laps, and he is sitting in position number 3, of course. He was the winner last time out, but is it going to be Francisco Garcia's day? Is he going to be the driver to take the checkered flag at the end of it all? Crossing the line, what I believe is one of his first laps of the day, and he will stop the clock at a 1:04.6. So a very, very quick lap time around Oran Park. These are laps that do not last long at all, Simon.
No, they do not last long at all, and considering you only get 2 laps to get your position, you've really got to maximize them as much as you can. And like I said, being not a very long track at all doesn't really give you time to build up tyre temp either. And so, yeah, it just sort of makes it a lot harder. Yeah, the first lap's a bit of a siding lap, and then, yeah, to really get the second lap, you've really got to maximize it as much as you can.
Absolutely. We've got the BMW M4 GT3 on screen at the moment, and apart from round number 2 at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, we've not really seen these cars be all too competitive, but Villa Sorvisto is doing everything they can to try and get that yellow car up onto the pole position. Maybe not pole position today, just looking at how his past results have gone, but if he can get into the top 20, that may be a good effort there. 1:04.4, he goes to 22nd, so just outside of the top 20, and sadly, he is all out of laps. That will be all she wrote, and only 2 cars left on the circuit at the moment, and I don't think either of them will be improving with a minute left in the session at the moment. So all the drivers wrapped up nice and early. So this is how our VRS GT Sprint Series starting grid for round number 6 will look like, and it will look like Justin Rougier takes pole position in the McLaren MP412C, which goes 1, 2, 3 with the likes of Nolan Lemeray and Marco Kayla going second and third. Row 2 is shared with Claire Mason in the Lamborghini Huracan GT3, with Marcin Pamula rounding out our top 5. Mitchell McLeod is used to the Lamborghini Huracan. He was racing it in an endurance race just a few moments ago. He has quit that race and dived into VRS, so short practice for Mitch, but he puts the car 6th on the grid anyway. Sam Devontier in position number 7 ahead of Saiful Riffin in position number 8, Jean-Cyr Lee in 9th, and the top 10 rounded out by Bruno Kuki.
Now we run to P11, Robert Corey in the Ferrari 488 GT3. Darren Tune in 12th, Lee Partridge in 13th in, I think it'd be the first of the, sorry, no, not the first of the Audis, but very few Audis at the moment. Julian Nevu, 14th, also in an Audi. Paul Mansell in 15th, Tommy DeWild, 16th, Lucas Crampier in 17th, Cesar Fernandez in 18th, Jonathan Beekoff in 19th in the Mercedes AMG GT3, and Jorg Correa in 20th.
Kicking things off on the 11th row of the grid is Kai Stumpf, who has Vil Sorvisto in 22nd alongside him. Robert Schultz and Fabio Sal are 23rd and 24th, with Francisco Garcia kicking things off from 25th. Carlos Grandal in 26th ahead of Colin Hill, Michael Hornby, Ben Cullen, and Michael Spithill, our 30 cars on the grid for a very short pace lap indeed. You can see the cars lining up at the second to last corner at this circuit with a track temp currently at 22 degrees, so the lap times will be fast, and I think we have a great race on our hands here today, because I've just seen in chat Nolan Lemeray, who starts second, believes that he had a fairly poor qualifying by his standards, and there's a lot more in the tank of that number 2 car, so he's going to try and apply the pressure nice and early to Justin Rougier. And as you can see, a few little mind games. One of the last cars to get on the grid is Nolan, so he's trying to just play something a little bit differently here. He wants to put the pressure on Rougier, but for those that are not familiar with their number 3 car today, of course, Australian racing car champion in, I believe, 2019. Very, very experienced, lots of pace there, and he knows how to deal with pressure. All cars are just about on the grid now as we get set for the Porsche iRacing safety car to roll off and get us towards 40 minutes of racing. If this is your first time watching the VRS GT Sprint Series, the cars do have to take one pit stop over the course of our next 40-minute race, so expect a few little strategy games, fuel saving, just trying to play with the other drivers in terms of who pits first. We have an interesting race on our hands. It is a McLaren 1, 2, 3 with a Lambo in 4th, an Audi in 5th, a Ferrari in 7th. We have a good mix of cars, a brilliant batch of drivers, and we are getting ready for what should be a brilliant start to the race. It's a high-speed entry in towards turn number 1, so who is going to be opportunistic? Will the drivers all be patient? We're about to find out as the iRacing Porsche safety car will pull into pit lane, and Rougier puts his foot down. We are away, and it's a very even jump from your first 2. It is so close between them, and you can see Rougier does finally get the race lead. We'll try and hold off Nolan in towards turn number 1 as the field all fails their way through. You can see, oh, Claire Mason sideways. What about Audis? And Marcin Pamula is off the road as well, backwards. Lucky to not get collected. That could have been so much worse, but thankfully I think the drivers have negotiated that fairly well as they head into the next section of corners. Turns number 3, Shell Corner, and then Champion Corner as well. And we're just looking there at the moment at the Aussie Driver Search champion of 2018, Lee Partridge, who's had a phenomenal start, up 7 spots already, Simon.
Yeah, he's had an absolute cracker. Especially considering how tight and congested it is in that first sort of section of the track, everyone trying to sort themselves out. To come up 7 spots, that's a fantastic effort.
It really is. So he's going to try and continue his charge as we go on board with second place Nolan Lemeray at the moment, hunting down your race leader, with Marco Kayla, round 5's winner, just lurking in the background as well. So I think we have a brilliant race on our hands tonight as the drivers all try and split away from position number 4, which now goes to Sam Devontier. A good start for him as well, in +3 spots, of course, with the drama that we saw for Claire Mason and the others. Mitch McLeod in position number 5 as the rest of our drivers funnel their way through to start lap number 2.
Yeah, very, very short lap. Everyone's done a very good job so far. Everyone's sort of got themselves into a bit of a rhythm. The McLarens at the moment, at the front, definitely seem to have a pace, which is quite surprising for me. Having a look at the way this track is, you just would not think it would suit itself for a McLaren, but they're obviously proving us wrong today. They have got sensational pace and they're starting to pull away from this field.
They are, so Devontier not quite going with the likes of Kayla Lemeray and Rougier, as they're all sort of spaced out, as well as, oh, we've got a little bit of chaos down at Shell Corner. What has happened here to what I believe is the number 30 car? So the lowest I rating of anyone on our grid. And here, of course, would be looking to improve on that I rating, but sadly, the race has not gone their way, as I think maybe a tap from behind with Claire Mason. No, he looks innocent so far. Maybe not the correct lap, we'll see, unless it was turn number 4. Claire Mason does dive up the inside, and unfortunately she does turn the number 30 car, and I think a separate incident in the background as well. So unfortunately a little bit clumsy on a few little drivers' parts.
Quite easy to do. It's a bit of an opportunistic spot to have a go there, unless you're sort of right up alongside someone. You maintain a bit of pace with that corner, so a bit hard to do. We can see this battle at the moment. They are rubbing shoulders at the moment, just having a quick look. It's Robert Corey and Lucas Krembe having a look, and the Ferrari's going to pop out in front at the moment. These Ferraris have got some serious pace tonight. You can see another one in the background of Darren Toon. He's going to be looking for another opportunity. Jonathan Beekhoff started a bit further down the pack. He's actually come up a few spots as well, up 5 as well, so taking big advantage. Be interested to see if he can get this Mercedes GT3. It's a bit of a boat compared to some of the other GT3s, but be interested to see if he can get some pace out of it.
Yeah, he's doing everything he can at the moment as Jonathan Beekhoff, as Julia Naveau has had a little bit of a moment there as well. And also, I'm just seeing at the final corner, we've also got Darren Toon off the road as well, who has just had to rejoin as well. So a few drivers having trouble. One driver that's not having issues, though, as he almost gets collected at turn number 1. Nolan Lemeray sets the fastest lap of the race and promptly bins it at turn number 1. So what has happened there to our second place McLaren, who now goes back into 4th ahead of Devontier, who recently got passed by Mitch McLeod as well. So McLeod into 3rd, Lemeray down to 4th, and then Devontier into position number 5. Motum simulation replay up on screen. We'll get both angles of what's happened here. So it was a much better exit from McLeod. He got a better run on Devontier. I don't think Sam was really willing to, battle that one too hard. And as for Nolan, just a little bit too wide on entry, clips the grass on the outside, and he knows if you brake on the grass, the car is gonna spin. So in the end, he just elects to go straight into the gravel and drive it out.
Yeah, very smart play there. It's quite easy to do with this track. I was sort of doing a few laps earlier today, and the cars get quite taily in that left-hand kink section, and that's roughly where you're hitting the brakes your hardest to sort of pull you up, because obviously it's a fairly short braking zone. So the car gets taily and runs a bit wide, and as you well know, Bo, once you drop a wheel off, you're not pulling the car up, it's going.
Yep, and I think Lee Partridge may have just found that out himself, unfortunately dropping down the order, and that is at the exit of turn number 1. Didn't quite see what happened there. So the LP Racing driver at the moment, we'll get a Motum simulation replay and try and dissect what has happened here, and it's not going to be a similar issue, it's going to be a different one. With the Audi, it's always known to be quite tricky when it comes to trail braking into the corner. It's not the easiest car to slow down, and sadly that has caught Lee out, and unfortunately the braking capabilities of the McLaren has caught out the driver of Fabio, and this is a little, if there's going to be tit for tat, that's one way to do it. Fabio just overshot the turn 1 a little bit, collected the driver of Kai Stumpf, and then the rejoin wasn't all too pretty either, Simon.
No, that was not a very good rejoin, but yeah, we also saw a bit in that one. As you can see, Marston and Tommy also got into each other as well, so that was a very action-packed first turn there. So everyone just I guess it's a bit hard as you want to sort of get forward in the race and try and take advantage. And if you've got a bit of pace, you want to try and sort of go forward. So just sort of losing a little bit of concentration and just a few little unfortunate incidents. But as you can see, this battle here, you can see Nolan sitting on the back of Mitch at the moment. I'm sure Mitch is going to be all too happy to have that McLaren right behind him at the moment.
Mitch, of course, the driver to jump into this race with almost zero practice whatsoever against Nolan Lemeray in the McLaren at the moment, who perhaps, if he hooked his lap up a little bit better, may have had pole position, and I don't think Mitch was all too willing to fight that one. Like I was saying, a bit of a practice difference between these two, and Nolan definitely with a higher level of pace, so he will go on to take position number 3 and try and catch up to Marco Kaler, who was the fastest driver on track last time around, by 0.004 of a second, but do not count out Marco Kaler when it comes to this race result at the moment, as we look at Paul Mansell hunting down Bruno Kauki at the moment through turns 1 and 2, trying to close up as it's Ferrari on Ferrari at the front.
Oh, we've got another big incident. Just noticing Ben Cullen has gone into the wall, and unfortunately it seems to be the same issue. You can see on screen trying to... This is such an awkward spot, trying to get out of there. Obviously cars coming through. Quick look at the replay, just sort of see what's going on. Coming out of turn 8, up over the dog leg. So we're going to see how he runs down into the final corner. Oh, car unsettled off the curb, onto the grass. Boom. There's not going to be a light hit at all. That's going to have a fair bit of damage to the back of that BMW at the moment.
And that's the thing as well, as of course last week were at the streets of Detroit Belle Isle, a circuit where if you run wide or go off, you're going to hit concrete. Whereas you go to somewhere like Oran Park, if you go off, you're going to get into the grass. And while that may more often than not mean you avoid, less damage compared to hitting a concrete wall at Belle Isle, but you often find yourself in a little bit more trouble because the car is willing to slide. It's going to obviously spin a little bit easier as well. And what that means is sometimes you can find yourself in some pretty awkward spots. And sadly for the BMW, I think that's what's happened there. Clips the grass on the outside. And of course, grass more forgiving than concrete, but sadly put him in a very awkward spot indeed. As we go back and look at car number 4 at the moment of Robert Corey, who's trying to hunt down the Audi in front of Lee Partridge, who was recovering from that spin last lap around. Lee with plenty of pace at the moment, 3 tenths faster than Corey, so expect him to pull away a little bit. And it's just the case of seeing just how high up the order Lee Partridge can be in this race. His next target is Paul Mansell, who continues to hunt the back of Bruno Kauki, but not close enough. They head their way into the final section of corners. And Kauki a little bit sideways more than he would have liked. And that almost opened the door for Paul Mansell to get a much better exit. We'll see if it's enough to challenge into turn number 1. I don't think it is though. So Paul Mansell will get oh so much more closer, but not close enough to challenge into the opening corner.
Yeah, you have to wait and have another look. But tell you what, just keep looking at Robert Corey's car. That thing looks amazing. I might have to just suddenly point out. I just can't look at that paint job, but as you can see, Paul Mansell at the moment, just hunting at the moment. It's, I said, it's one of those tracks, Belle Isle, you sort of had the concrete walls that sort of prevented you to sort of create opportunities for passes. Oran Park sort of a bit the same. It's just a very, very short track, and obviously these cars very aero dependent. Trying to get the car off the corner as much as you can. If you sort of get stuck behind someone in a draft, it just makes it a bit more difficult. So yeah, you kind of got to be a bit more committed and take advantage of, if the car in front of you makes a little mistake, try and take advantage of that opportunity, and you might just have to lick the stamp in some cases.
Absolutely, and licking the stamp at the moment was Marco Kaler, who found himself half a second faster than Rouget on the previous lap. On the lap afterwards, they matched lap times to the 1,000th of the second. You can see our little chart there showing the lap time progress, and you can see there on lap number 8, there was a big margin taken out for Kaler. He is hunting down Rouget, and he's just nipping and tucking away at the gap at the moment. But last lap around, there was no movement whatsoever. But I would have to say, Kaler looking a little bit faster at the moment in the McLaren compared to race-leading Rouget.
Yeah, he's definitely continuing on that pace he had from Belle Isle. So looking to try and get another win. But you can see Rouget's pace has just been, actually, they said last lap, spot on lap time, as you sort of said. But Justin, obviously being a real-life driver, he'd be well aware of what he needs to do to sort of manage the gap to the car behind, and that's it. You just want to try and, if you don't need to push the car that hard, if you've got plenty of pace still in store, you can see Marco pushing hard into turn 1. The car was sort of sliding all over the shop on the way in, but if he's got the pace and he can manage the gap, Justin will be setting himself up for a really good race. Obviously pit stops will come later on, but yeah, it's just maintaining that gap for the moment.
Yep, absolutely. And he has responded to the pace of Marco. Last lap around, almost 0.2 of a second faster was Rouget. So he's hunting not as much as Nolan at the moment, who is absolutely blitzing the circuit at the moment with a new fastest lap of the race. That car is on a mission at the moment as we see Claire Mason. She decides to dive into the pits, but she is not involved in this battle, which includes Jonathan Bykoff and Jorge Carrera at the moment as they go side by side a bit too deep. There goes the Audi, and the Mercedes with its big front engine grunt will pull alongside and pull past, and then the BMW behind gets opportunistic. Toby DeWild now is getting wild in this fight as he gets all over the inside curb and will drop the Audi down another spot as well. So Carrera not having the best lap there, and now Darren Tune behind as well, who has not had the best of start. Has Darren, of course, he spun a bit earlier in the race, down 5 spots, so he's got a recovery drive to go as well. So Carrera, he needs to get eyes forward right now and not hit the outside wall, because this could be a very tricky phase of the race for him.
Yeah, he's got to start sizing up, you know, what he's going to do. Obviously, track position is going to be very key at the moment. Got muscled out of the way by the two sort of big boys of GT3 racing. So as we start to sort of allude to it, pit strategy is going to be a bit of a thing. Obviously, one different thing with this track, the pit lane entry is very, very awkward. So being prepared to be able to, hopefully they've practiced their pit entries and sort of know what they're doing there. But you know, being such a, I think another thing to think of is this track being so tight and short. You know, lap car traffic is going to play a big factor, and I think sometimes they're going to have a think about as well what they do later on in the race.
Yep, and you can actually see in the background of our shot right there that we also have our first bit of traffic happening at the moment, as that was the driver of Colin Hill very politely getting out of the way of our race leaders, and great to see there as Rouget definitely turns the water temperature up just a little bit to hot, and he is pumping out some good laps to pull away by another 0.3 of a second over second place Kayla, who was also half a second slower than third place Nolan on screen, who is just setting a bonkers pace right now. Definitely a lot of speed in that car, and if it wasn't for that mistake at turn number 1, what could have been for Nolan? There's still a long way to go at 26.5 minutes left in this race, but he's just put himself on the wrong side of the foot here, Simon.
Yeah, that's it. Just an unfortunate little mistake. It sort of changes the entire race for you, where he'd sort of be able to, you know, maybe use the pace he's got now to have a real good challenge at Rouget. He's got to use that to try and get back onto the back of the pack. But as he's saying, his lap times, like, you know, a 2.8, 2.7, 2.8, 2.7, and now a 2.9. So this one was his slowest one of the last few laps, only by about a tenth or two. So he's still putting together some really good lap times, still faster than the two cars in front at the moment. As we can see, pit stops are happening at the moment. Paul Mansell in the lane. So, you know, the car still has plenty of pace, but is it going to be able to get there at the end?
Well, that is the question. 1.8 seconds is the gap at the moment, and I've got to say, something may have happened to Kayla on that previous lap, because that was a long way short of where he has been. 1.2 seconds slower compared to Lemeray there, who was chasing him down. So Marco, of course, he was the master when it came to the streets of Belle Isle. He was the one that ruled them all. Sadly, he is the one getting overthrown at the moment by Rouget, who's pulling away, and Nolan Lemeray punching out some great laps at the moment. And just according to my timing screen as well, if Nolan keeps this pace up, which unfortunately, as I go to say it, he has not quite done that, he was closing quite significantly on Rouget as well. He was still on target to potentially challenge for this race win. So Nolan, don't count him out just yet if there's any kind of mistake from Rouget.
Definitely do not. But yeah, this seems to be where the battle's going to be. Just this also battle we're sort of having a look at as well between Tommy and Jonathan. You know, they sort of stuck together. Had not a lot sort of happened between these two, but there's definitely a bit of a battle for position going on. As you can say, these are the two. This is probably a track a bit sideways from Beakoff into turn 2, but he squared it off well. Is there going to be a bit of a look here? Tommy sitting out. Is he going to have a bit of a look? Don't think so. But yeah, for these two cars, like this is probably a track that just does not suit these cars. They're sort of big. The Mercedes, obviously the big V8 motor in it. You know, probably not as agile as some of the other cars in the field, but still to be running up in, you know, 13th, 14th, and still running really good pace as well compared to the rest of the field. So still doing a very respectable job at the moment.
They absolutely are as they continue to run the laps down. Currently working lap number 15 on the circuit as Nolan Lemeray sets a new fastest lap of the race, taking 4/10. Oh, wow, that Mercedes is taking the entirely wrong line of contact with our Ferrari, which of course was the driver of Darren Schoon, who was having a bad race already. He'd already lost a lot of spots from the start of the race. And it's all gone a little bit wrong as Jonathan Bykoff turns into the Valtteri Bottas Austria Spec lawnmower and rejoins the circuit there at our final corner, Recaro corner. Motor simulation replay up on screen, and what has happened here over the crest? I'm going to guess dipping a wheel on the outside of the circuit under brakes. It's always going to spin the car around, and sadly he did everything he could. He got the car to a stop, which you can't really ask for much more of him. He did everything he could. It's just a case of wrong time, wrong place for Darren Schoon.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, as you say, wrong place. And probably a good thing what Jonathan did, you know, once he'd spun the car, he just sort of stopped and just waited. I think a lot of times, you know, if you're involved in that situation, you get a bit flustered. The first thing you want to do is, try and get out of everyone's way. Generally not the thing to do. You end up sometimes causing more issues than preventing them. So, yeah, he did do the right thing in that case. But, yeah, unfortunately, Bruno getting involved in that one.
Absolutely.
Oh, sorry, Darren, not Bruno. Sorry, wrong one.
That's all right. It's a lot of new drivers in this series that we don't not usually see, and it's great to see that variety of drivers that, you know, are from different backgrounds and, of course, all kinds of different pedigrees as well. We look to the likes of Justin Rougier currently leading this race. I mean, what more do you say about Justin Rougier? 2014 Kumo Touring Cars, which is now essentially the Super 3 Championship winner. He won in the 2019 Aussie Racing Cars. He's a driver that knows how to get a car around any circuit, and is proving that at the moment as he has extended his race lead. Now it's 2.1 seconds, so Rougier doing a phenomenal job as Nolan Lemeray continues to hunt down the car in front. The gap between them two is just 1.2 seconds now. So McLaren on McLaren fight is getting very interesting indeed as we look at Sam Devontier with the driver of Riffin just behind him as well, who's just been nudging closer over the past few laps. It was only 300ths faster last lap around, but time gained is still time gained.
Absolutely. This group we're just looking at the moment, they're running sort of about half a second off the leader's pace at the moment, but still doing a really good job. But Sam, I think he's due for a result. He's doing a great job at the moment. Unfortunately, just getting not issues of his making, just unfortunately, just as we say, wrong place, wrong time. So, you know, don't want to put the monster on him yet, but just, yeah, I think he's looking for a good result, and I think he definitely does deserve one tonight.
Definitely. It's been a very tough few weeks for Sam Devontier. He's, of course, I remember at, I believe it was, I'm going a little bit blank here with my circuits, but of course at Road America, he was one of the drivers that got absolutely sent to Narnia or somewhere in that turn 1 melee that we saw. And then, of course, last week we saw him involved in a little bit of chaos when it came to the streets of Belle Isle. So for Sam, it's been a very tricky few weeks, and running top 5 at the moment is a great effort there. As we go back to our podium placed cars, last lap around, once again the fastest car on track is Nolan Lemeray. The pace he is setting is faster than anyone else on circuit. Not quite enough to be challenging Justin Rougier anymore, I don't believe, unless Rougier makes a bit of a mockery of his pit stop. But the pace of Nolan has meant that he is catching Marco hand over fist to the form of 2/10 last lap around, and that gap is now allowing him to get the slipstream effect, which down in towards turn number 1 is really the only place on the track he can slipstream. But again, it's just a little bit more incentive for him to push, and push, because Simon, we all know, when you see that driver in front every lap getting closer and closer and closer, that is a lot of motivation.
Yeah, as soon as you start pulling someone in, you know, you start sizing up, you know, if I can get behind them, you know, where are they weakest, where are they strongest, you know, where can I position the car to sort of take the opportunity for a pass, you know, and at the same time, you know, obviously you can see at the front at the moment, lap traffic, and that's going to be something else you can use to your advantage. You know, something for myself who competes mainly in multi-class racing, you know, that's something we use to our advantage. If you can see a car coming up that's going to be lapped, you know, you try and put yourself in a position that, you know, if it doesn't go to plan, you can take advantage of it. So that's something else that, I guess you can see at the moment, Nolan all over the back of this McLaren at the moment. You know, he's going to have to size up and earn. Oh, we got one car Ville off on the front straight. Looks like on the exit of the final turn. He's got it going again. We'll have a quick look at replay and see what's going on.
Yep, so the BMW, of course, front engine car, not having the best of luck at the moment. It's got a student driver on the side, which I absolutely love. And what has happened there with one of the Bow Repairs Lamborghinis behind. I'm not sure if this is Claire Mason or one of her teammates, but just, I think that's a solo car incident there. It's Michael Spithill that was the car behind. I'm not so sure there was contact, in all honesty. We'll get another look again, but I think it's just got hooked on the inside curb there, and it's spun the car around already. You can see, yeah, that's all by himself there. So, Michael Spithill, completely innocent in that, and the Bow Repairs car does need a little bit of Bow Repairs on the inside front left fender, but not as much work needed as Bruno Cuckoo's found themselves off the road at turn number 1. So lots of drivers now running into a little bit of grief as Lee Partridge dives into the pit lane. We're now some 22 minutes into this race, and for someone that does a lot of sprint racing, of course, this is quite a long race in terms of GT3 racing. A lot of other series on iRacing only go for maybe 12, 15 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes. So to still be going after almost half an hour of racing, maybe fatigue just setting in for a few of our drivers as we look at Marco Kayla and Nolan Lemeray heading their way through turns 1 and 2 once again. And both of them not quite getting the apex I would be going for. But, of course, these drivers are operating at a very high level at the moment. And Nolan dives it to the inside. That was forceful by all means, and he gets the job done. But I'm not so sure about that one, Simon.
There was definitely some stamp involved in that one. They had a pretty good run. It looked like it was getting a bit of a run. We'll have a quick look on the replay, but just having a quick look myself now, he definitely got a bit of a run. There's a bit of a sideways twitch from Marco off the corner. He's got a really good run. Not gaining, and then just absolutely lobbed it. You can see Marco's turned in. He wasn't expecting the car to be there. I'd say 10 out of 10 for Marco to see what was going to happen there, and just sort of opening the steering and saying, look, you obviously want the position, you've obviously got the pace, you can have that and go for it.
We all love seeing a massive dive that pays off, but of course when the driver in front has to completely turn out of the corner, that's not ideal, and I don't really believe that move was on unless Marco really did just have to unwind the steering on entry like he had to, and of course try and avoid any kind of contact. Nonetheless, Nolan does get the spot. We can't dispute that. He is now into second place, and what can he do against the likes of Justin Rougier in front, who he has been quicker than over the last few laps quite consistently, but not enough to chase down with 16 minutes left in this race. So Nolan now really has to try and find something special.
Yeah, he's got to dig deep, and that's it. Like even when Nolan was running out from without being behind Marco, Justin's pace was starting to pick up. It was like he was starting to perceive the threat that was going to come from Nolan. So I think Justin has got a bit more pace in the car than what maybe Nolan has. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm just not sure if maybe Nolan just has overused the tyres up to this point, just doesn't have any more left. As you can see, it looks like Justin's actually making his way to pit lane. So we'll have a quick look, and yep, there is Justin on pit lane. So pit lane activity is starting to take off.
Definitely is. So what is this going to do when it all shakes out, when all the drivers have taken their pit stops? I'm a little surprised by Rougier, in all honesty. That is quite an early stop. Normally we see these cars going right out to the 30th or even 32nd minute in this race. So we're still 15 minutes left. It's a little bit surprising. Very short stop. Weighing in at 6 seconds for Rougier. That is monumentally quick. Normally we see pit stops around the 8-second mark. He's a very smart racer, but that sort of very ultra short pit stop time does have me just a little bit worried. But some of the other pit stops we've seen so far includes 8.8 and 7.6 seconds. So maybe it is correct, and he has just been doing a little bit of fuel saving. We'll see if Nolan or Marco decide to react on this lap. They're going to both stay out for yet another run of the Oran Park circuit.
Yeah, and one thing I noticed as well was Justin, when he came out, had clear air, which is going to be the big thing with the pit stop cycle. As you sort of said, surprising to pit early, because when you try and do the undercut and you've got traffic around, it makes it very hard to pull it off. You can see another car entering the lane. So
the cone.
The poor cone. A bit rough. It's the magic cone. It returns anyway. But yeah, you'd be more inclined to sort of stay out longer, try and mitigate your damage by the lap traffic. But no, Justin's picked a perfect time to come in. He's got clear air. He can obviously use, you know, the tyres will pull off a little bit. He'll be able to use that pace. So yeah, not a bad effort at all by Justin.
Yeah, of course, it's a good effort for now, but the only worry once again with pitting so early is that, of course, the car in front of him directly on track right now is Colin Hill. Lap's car, he will get out of the way. The next car he catches will be Lucas Crombie, who is not a lap down. So my issue for Rougier is if he gets to the back of Crombie, there is no incentive for Lucas to let Justin by. Of course, it's the polite thing to do against a race-leading car, but he doesn't have to. There's no rule that says he has to, so there's still the potential for Rougier to get caught up in traffic, even if he has initial clean air, as we see this little battle with a lot of drivers getting a little bit impatient through the opening section of corners. Marco Kayla does decide to dive into the pits. Rougier up the inside of Colin Hill at the final corner. Where does this all pan out? Of course, the lap times for Rougier haven't quite come through just yet. We'll get our first indication now. 103.5. Marco Kayla is exiting pit lane now, but nowhere near close enough. So while we look at this battle involving Paul Mansell and our race leader, Kayla has still rejoined a little bit behind Rougier. So Rougier does hold station at the front of the field, but back to my point, Simon, Kayla's pit stop 2.1 seconds longer. Has Rougier underfueled just a little bit here?
That's going to be a question.
Has Colin Hill
enough fuel?
Yep, Colin Hill has spun the car. I thought for a moment he was in the wall, but just looped it around all by himself and is now retired from the race. It was a solo car incident that just scared me for just a moment as I thought I was looking at Rougier. But for Colin Hill, you see, coming through turn number 3 now, it's turn number 4, where things went all a little bit wrong for him. He was doing a good job down in 25th spot, running his own race, being very polite to the leaders. But that Lamborghini is a tricky beast. Oh, the cones, the horror of it all. We are seeing some absolute murder of cones tonight. And in the next drivers meeting, I'm going to have a chat. These cones, they matter to me. This behavior is unacceptable.
Very disappointing. I mean, the cone at Le Mans get abused enough, but now the ones at Oran Park, just as much. But just want to pull it back to this. I've been noticing this last lap. Nolan has had massive issues with lap traffic this last lap or two. Especially the last lap was stuck behind Paul Mansell for pretty much an entire lap and has continued to press on. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me at the moment. I figured, you know, if you're already in that position, that's the thing, you got into the front straight, was still behind Paul, lap traffic, and kept going. In that sort of situation, I don't know if it benefits him at all staying out and continuing to fight with traffic, because this is only going to feed into Justin and as well Marco being able to get back in front of him. So I'm not sure if Nolan staying out at this point is a smart move.
No, of course, at the moment, Justin Rougier is running high 102s. We'll see what this lap is while we're having a look. And he's just insulted me by doing a 103.5. But contrary to that, it was a 103.5 for Nolan, but then a 103.9 for Nolan. So you're absolutely spot on. The fact that right now, him staying out, getting himself into so much traffic is not helping his overall race at all. He does have clear track now, but is that a little bit too late as we get a motor simulation replay of Saiful Arifin, who was just run into a little bit of trouble. I'm seeing, clips the grass on entry, big oversteer moment, deja vu, doesn't quite save it. I had high hopes there. I thought maybe Saiful was going to be able to hold on to that, but to get the car onto the grass here at Oran Park, it bites hard, Simon.
It absolutely does. As I said, it doesn't take much. It's a tiny little bit, just a silver clip of the grass, and that's it. You're a passenger from there. Mitch McLeod entering the pits, try and get his pit stop out of the way. You can see Justin, and this is a battle for position. Lucas Kremba. Justin with a fantastic, it's that thing, and a dive for the pit lane. So this is working out beautifully for Justin. Also something, you see the pit stops are actually really starting to take off. There's a lot of drivers making their way down the lane now. There is here Mitch, Sam, Robert, Lucas also going down the lane. A few drivers staying out at the moment. But just a quick note as well, Marco and Nolan were the two people fighting each other prior to the pit stops. Marco has been consistently, except that last lap, consistently faster than Nolan while he was battling in traffic. So that's going to be the gap, the first battle that's going to be affected.
Oh, Justin Rougier, our long-time race leader, is off in the weeds as Nolan continues to punch in good laps. Was this too much pressure for Rougier, who was obviously under a lot to try and extend this lead, maintain the gap to Nolan. And where has this happened? I didn't quite see it the first time around, but turn number 3 there, heading in towards turn number 4. And what is that? Oh, collapsed car. And unfortunately, Jean-Sio Lee has made big contact. And Jean-Sio was not a lap down car. There was no incentive for him to let Rougier go. It wasn't necessary. He's had a moment of his own, and I think he's just recovering the car. There's tire barriers there. At first, I thought that looked quite bad for Jean-Sio Lee, but again, it wasn't the best rejoin, but he was trying to avoid a barrier there as well, Simon.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was having a good look at that, and it just looks like the car's just sort of bounced off the curb. As you said, trying to avoid the barrier. It looks like he's actually clipped it a little bit, and it's just sent the car out. So it's just one of those things. Like, it wasn't, it obviously wasn't, you know, intended to do that, but just not a lot you could do. Just a bit of a passenger, and unfortunately, Justin just wrong place, wrong time, as we've seen a bit in this race at the moment. So we'll see. It's going to drop him back down the pack. He took me a while to get back on the circuit, and we're not sure how much damage there is, but unfortunately for Justin, that's just going to be heartbreaking.
Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons I say that even though the undercut can be good, that sometimes it's not worth putting you in all that traffic, because Jean-Sio Lee was not a lap down car. He was a driver that was still in a effective lead position, so he didn't have to give the spot up, and unfortunately Rougier just fell foul there, as we have been ruined. A pretty good finish, unfortunately, as Nolan Lemeray, who has just taken pit service at 8 seconds, has come back out on track ahead of, there we are, second place Marco Kayla, who also was at 8.4 seconds for his pit stop. So for first and second, much longer pit stops than Rougier. So I think there may have been a question mark anyway over Rougier in terms of if he had the fuel to actually make it to the end of the race. But that's not how he wanted to see this race decided.
No, definitely not. We want to see it on battles. We want to see it, you know, 1-to-1. So yeah, just, like I said, unfortunate situation, but I'm actually kind of surprised there. Like, just having a look at that, Nolan coming out 2 seconds in front of Marco. I thought that would have been a lot closer. I thought Marco was doing a fantastic job to try and close that gap down and try and get the jump over the top. You still see lap traffic that the leaders are dealing with at the moment. So, but there's still plenty to play for. Obviously, Nolan's pace has been really good this race. Probably the only one to really be able to take it to Justin. So we'll see. Marco may have something. Obviously, winner in Detroit a week ago. But we'll see. Can Marco try and turn this race around and take the challenge to Nolan?
That's going to be the question, isn't it? I don't know how it's going to go at the moment, but last lap around, of course, with that pissed off for Nolan Lemeray, Marco was the fastest driver on track, but even despite not having a time for Nolan Lemeray, Marco, 1:03.1 is a very respectable time, so Nolan can't just, sit on his feet here. He has to make sure he's pedaling this McLaren hard to make sure that gap stays where it is. And I think the big deciding factor in how this is all panned out is, yes, Nolan did have a lot of traffic while everyone else had already pitted, but when he did have clean air, his pace has been exceptional with a 1:02.7, the fastest lap of the race. And I'm pretty sure he's done 2 or 3 1:02.7. So he's definitely the fastest car here tonight. He's gone for a big dive on Marco Kayla in the early stages. So he's earned it tonight. He's had to work hard for it. As we can just see a few little drivers getting out of the way of Marco as he continues his charge to try and chase down our race leader. Marco has Jorge Carrera just in front of him in the slightly battered and bruised Audi R8. And Jorge will make life nice and easy for Marco. So great to see. Plenty of respect going on between the drivers here.
Yeah, plenty of respect going on. I was having a look at this little battle too, because I was looking a little bit earlier. It looked like... trying to find the name again, Francesco Garcia was also involved in a little scrap here. And I noticed that Francesco was actually at that point in time up 17 spots in this race. He was doing a fantastic job, but unfortunately he's dropped down a lot. But also worth mentioning too, Michael Spithill also up 17 spots. So another fantastic job. Oh, looks like getting involved with Nolan as well, just coming into the final corner, but steps out of the way and lets Nolan go.
Yep, so almost a little bit of a drama there, but thankfully they all get away with it. And last lap around, it was Nolan, still the fastest car on track. So he's definitely got the pace over second. Just needs to keep it on the island there as we go back to Robert Corey and Paul Mansell at the moment in 6th and 7th place on track. They're not separated by all too much with Mansell. Oh, there's a car off the road I'm just seeing in front. Was I? It's Mitchell McLeod. What have you done at the final corner? He's rejoining now, but something big has happened. In fact, he was battling with another driver. That was Francisco Garcia, who was a lap down. And I won't spoil any more as we go to a motion simulation replay. He went up the inside of the lapped car, contact, and he went spinning big time and eventually had to cut the entire final corner. But that was a lapped car versus a lead lap car situation. So Mitch, not going to be all too happy about that. Francisco Garcia has been apologizing in the in-game chat, so he is very apologetic for it. But if you'd be Mitch, you'd be a little bit upset by that, about how it's affected his race.
Yeah, not going to be too happy. You could only imagine what Mitch is saying about that incident. But yeah, obviously not intentional. Just obviously tried to get out of the way for Mitch and try and let him go. But yeah, just unfortunately just dropped that wheel off. And as we've seen tonight, it's just so easy to do. Like you just one tiny dropped wheel, and that's it. You can see another car also. The student driver car, as we've been noticing a bit earlier, also parked to the side of the track. So this track seems to be wearing everyone down.
Well.
And retired as well. So yeah, there's only 3 more minutes left in this race, but obviously everyone's starting to feel the fatigue.
Yeah, clearly. That's a bit of an odd one for Vil Sorvisto. No, not worth getting a replay, I don't believe, but for Vil, just a very slow lap. He was running most of the lap around 50 to 60 kilometers an hour before eventually pulling it off the road. It looked like it still had fuel in the car, so a bit of an odd one for the student driver, and maybe didn't pass his test this time around. But Paul Mansell back on screen as he continues to hunt down Robert Corey in front and Sam Devontier in 5th as well. So it's not just a 2-car battle here, it's a 5-car battle as well. And for any of them start running a little bit off the pace, Devontier, a 105.8 last lap around, was 1.1 seconds slower than Robert Corey. So does Corey maybe have a bit of an answer here to Sam Devontier, who had a 7-second pit stop compared to the 9 and 8-second pit stops of the cars behind? So drivers maybe getting a little bit too risky with fuel consumption this particular round, and is Sam just having to fuel save a bit and is allowing Robert Corey to hunt down quick.
Yeah, only a few laps to go. 3 on the clock according to my screen at the moment. So is he going to have enough time? But yeah, that pace from that Ferrari 488 GT3, as he's closing up very quickly into turn 1. That car is flying. It looks very well settled too, which, considering the stage of the race we are, the cars have been going for almost 40 minutes now, been pushing hard the whole way, so the tyres, the general car will just sort of be feeling unsettled and not sort of as good as it would on the new tyres. So for the car to be looking as settled and to be putting the pace down he is at the moment, using all of the curve as they go through over the bridge, again using every inch of the racetrack. So Robert's trying to squeeze everything he can out of this car as they come with 2 laps to go.
Yep, absolutely. There's not long left now. Only 2 more tours of the Oran Park circuit to go. And Corey's going to try something, try and hunt down Devontier in front, but the gap, I don't think, is closing up just in time. Maybe a little bit of kiss of the wall through Recaro corner as well, as they make their way to start lap number 37 of what I believe will be lap 38 lap race. You can see Marco Kayla. Oh, sorry, that's Nolan Lemeray on screen at the moment. I don't believe this will be the last lap. There'll be 1 more to go. It's a little bit nip and tuck, but Nolan still 1 more lap to find his way around Oran Park. A big enough lead, though, back to Marco Kayla. 5.9 seconds, and then Justin Rougier, a distant 3rd as well. And I think Justin is a little bit off the pace at the moment. I think he's realized, fuel feels a little bit tighter than I thought. And he's backed off well and truly doing 104s. So not the best race, unfortunately, for Rougier. And he'll be ruining this one as he starts one of his final laps. You can see on screen one of the Bow Repair cars as well, as they've had a bit of a tricky race as well. Claire Mason, she had a great qualifying. Sadly, wasn't to be. She found herself down the order at turn number 1 and has only managed to recover to 17th place at the moment and is now a lap down. So not ideal at all, but while all the action has died down just a little bit, the heart rate is still very much up for Nolan Lemeray, as he has had to sweat his way back into winning contention here at round number 6 of the Virtual Racing School GT Sprint Series. He thought he had the pace for pole position, but he didn't hook the qualifying lap up, and then he fired the car off at turn number 1. Sheer pace, sheer strategy, brilliance brings Nolan Lemeray the checkered flag here at the Oran Park Raceway for round number 6 of the VRS GT Sprint Series. It's going to be second place for Marco Kaler. It's not going to be another win for him, but it will be another podium result. And Justin Rougier will round to the final corner. And it wasn't the best race for him in the end, unfortunately, from pole position. But nonetheless, a podium will be good enough as he is coughing and spluttering with fuel across the finish line. The rest of our drivers, including one Mr. Mitchell McLeod, will come across the finish line in a few moments' time, and Sam Devontier will end up winning that battle ahead of Robert Corey and Paul Mansell. So, 38 laps of racing, Simon. That's the checkered flag.
Yeah, it flew by quick. We can see, there's still a bit of a battle going on here. We can see Lucas and Sayofel going for a battle to the line, but looks like Lucas will keep that position. But yeah, a gutsy recovery drive from Nolan. Very well deserved. Unfortunate for Justin. Probably could have wrapped it up, but yeah, still well done to Nolan for that one.
Absolutely. We'll get our race results up on screen at the moment. I've got to say, JK Kennedy, that is a beautiful B-roll footage there. Very nicely done indeed. As we await our finishing results, just the last few drivers coming across the line, and there was a lot of chaos at this circuit. So a few drivers with a little bit of damage still trying to make their way through. Claire Mason into the final few corners now, and in fact, I think she may be out of fuel as well. So not being the easiest race for many of our drivers, but it was a very battering and bruising race. We thought this race could be a little bit interesting with the Oran Park layout, not really offering itself to too much overtaking, but in the end, the drivers did a fantastic job and managed to bring it home in one piece. But none brought it home in one piece faster than Nolan Lemeray. He takes the checkered flag after 38 laps ahead of Marco Kaler and Justin Rougier, who rounds out our podium. Mitchell McLeod in position number 4 ahead of Sam Devontier, who fought his way to 5th, ahead of Robert Corey and Paul Mansell in the Ferrari fleet, and Lucas Kremby in the Audi in 8th, ahead of Saifullah Riffin in 9th, and Marcin Pamula rounded out our top 10.
As we head to P11, Tommy DeWild in the BMW, the last of the lead lap drivers coming home in 11th. Lee Partridge, a decent drive up the field to 12th. Jorge Carrera in 13th. Cesar Fernandez 14th. Darren Chu in 15th. Michael Spithill and Claire Mason in the Redback by Repairs Cars 16th and 17th. Kai Stump in 18th. Robert Schultz in 19th, and Carlos Becerra Grandal in 20th.
Another lap down went to Jonathan Bykoff in the lone Mercedes AMG. Did everything he could, but it wasn't to be today. Ahead of 2 laps down Ben Cullen, 3 laps down Bruno Kuki in 23rd. 4 laps down would be Francisco Garcia and Jansir Lee, who sadly found themselves getting caught up with the leaders and sadly maybe determined the race result. 5 laps down would be Fabio Sal in 26th with Vil Sorvisto as well, with their retirements including Colin Hill in the Lamborghini we saw spinning off at turn number 4, Julian Novo and Michael Hornby as well, running into dramas around round 6 of the VRS GT Sprint Series. Well, that's us done at Oran Park, but next week we go to a track with more curbs, more fast action. Simon, we're heading to Imola.
We are heading to Imola. This one is a fantastic track, and this is going to deliver us some fantastic racing. Hope you like curbs, as you say, because we are going to be using a lot of them.
Absolutely, lots of overtaking opportunities there as well. It should be great to watch and seeing how the drivers fuel save around that circuit, because strategy will be oh so crucial for all of them at the end result. I'm Bo Albert on behalf of Mr. Simon Mazomo, and on the cameras JK Kennedy. Thank you all so much for watching SimSpeed. This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney! Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to him! Oh my god! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go!
Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?